I haven't watched any of the action button videos in full, alright? I'm sorry. I know for a lot of people the Tokimeki Memorial video is probably your video of the year or in your top 5 or something. I've only seen like half an hour of it. It seems delightful. I forgot, okay? I realized it was like the 5th video in a series, which meant if I wanted to watch the video properly, it would mean going back and watching all of his other very long videos, and I just didn't have the motivation or the time when it came to late December nut cutting time to watch all those videos for the list. I spent the last day of this year ignoring my Attack on Titan script to watch videos in order to make this video. You're welcome. I'm sorry, okay? Now let's backtrack and do an intro. This video is designed to basically be a recommendation machine. You're all probably thirsting for that good shit, and I'm going to give you lots of it, by way of talking about and recommending other people's videos. Also, I think talking in a meta sense about other people's YouTube videos is something I'd like to see more of in a scripted context, like how we talk about other types of media. I want to see YouTube videos reviewing YouTube videos, baby. Shabes does it in an unscripted context with AniTube Digest, but that's just about anime and manga adjacent videos. Gross! I tried to copy that format and broadening the videos talked about to just general video essays / analysis videos, but I gave up on it. Because chat, that's a lot of work for little to no monetary gain, and it's not exactly a labor of love worth weathering the workload for. You gotta watch a lot of videos. And frankly, I didn't wanna. And this was my compromise. An end-of-year top 10 list. This top 10 I want to fashion in a similar style to the Cineflix end-of-year film top 10 lists, where we don't just talk about 10 videos, but kind of separate each placement into a type of video, and talk about the honorable mentions from that same category each time. That sounds weird, but you'll get it as we progress. Basically, if you've never seen those videos, we aren't just ranking 10 videos here, but talking about probably hundreds of videos so that we can recommend as much as possible to keep you, the humble viewer, satiated, and tell you whose videos you should be keeping an eye on going into 2022. We've got to talk about methodology a little more before we get into the list. What qualifies a video to make the list? What is a video essay or an analysis video? As for that last part, an analysis video is an outdated term I think I've only ever heard B and the other PCP members use, which is just another word for video essay, which I think is the term most currently use. B did make a version of this kind of video in 2015 called Top 10 Analysis Videos of 2015, a video that in retrospect gives you a cute look back to what this space used to look like nearly 7 years ago, but that video is an obvious influence on this video, and me including an outdated term in the title is a homage to that fact. So, analysis video is just a synonym for video essay. And to answer the first part of my own question, what qualifies a video for the list and what is a video essay? I have no fucking idea, and neither do you. It's not really an essay in video form, and certainly things that technically are essays in video form I wouldn't count for this list. Basically, we are using a bullshit colloquial definition for what a video essay is. If it feels right to include on the list, if it feels right to call something a video essay, then I'm gonna call it a video essay. But to try and illustrate maybe what my criteria will be, a video essay, I guess, is a video about media or politics, or something, with a script that's maybe an argument, though not really or always, that is recorded with voiceover and footage is edited over the top of. Or someone is reading into the camera or something. It's ill-defined, chat. What do you want me to say? It's whatever I want. Methodology can suck my dick. Shut up and get recommended things. Building off that irrationality, I've decided that YouTube documentary-type informational channels don't count. Maybe I should have given them a spot on this list, and maybe in future iterations of the list, if I ever put myself through this again, I will give them a spot on the list. But here, today, I've decided to not include them at all. And we'll just rattle some off I like right now. Lemino is obviously pretty fucking great. Out of his 2 videos that he made this year, the Jack the Ripper video is particularly outstanding. The animation in the video is awesome. I love the red and black aesthetic. The narration is on point and ever ominous as always. Honestly, he's one of the best creators going right now, and it feels like a big deal, drop everything moment when he uploads a video. I also like his presentational style of not really pushing a particular wacky angle in his docu-type videos, where he could have gone with the theory that the wacko giant American man with the very creepy story of having stored human bits in his fridge being the killer to make the video more interesting, but instead he kinda points out that these historical investigations without a clear answer answer are always messy and inconclusive, and he doesn't really push a certain suspect. It keeps the videos respectable in my opinion. Though as with all the videos in this section, I'm no expert in any of these areas and really don't know shit about squat. So he could be spreading mass misinformation and I'd be none the wiser. Doesn't seem the case though. See what I did there? Case? Kraut makes stylistically bally history videos. His previous series on Turkey is probably my favorite of his, though this year's history of the Mexican-American border and the intricacies around that issue might be a close second. I didn't watch all of his videos this year. This Chomsky one looks like it could be very controversial, though I haven't seen it. There's definitely a political lens to his videos, but nonetheless, if you're in the mood for these types of history, geopolitical videos, you'll be satisfied here. Vsauce, I hear, made a great video about a chair this year. I failed to watch it, though I thought it'd be remiss if I didn't mention him here since he's kind of the king of informational YouTube videos to many. You can't not mention the man. Potholer54 is probably the informational channel I've watched the most this year, and the last few years really, with him having risen to major prominence with the pandemic. Potholer is an Australian scientist who debunks anti-science talking points about COVID, climate change, and creationism in the most old man Australian way possible, making his style of highly sarcastic comedy and seemingly always thoroughly unimpressed tone about my favorite thing ever. The way he talks about the do your own research crowd never fails to make me smirk and get a profound sense of satisfaction as their talking points are ran down by somebody with the expertise to accurately undermine them. The cesspools of misinformation are going to destroy the world someday, and Potholer's blunt comedic approach to counteracting this is perhaps peak aesthetic. Avoid repeating bad internet science talking points. Watch Potholer. Who knew South Australia was leading the world in renewable energy solutions with help from everybody's mate Elon? On the video game side of informational content, the Did You Know Gaming contingent continues to make interesting Did You Know type content. I don't think anybody watches all their videos, but when there's one on a topic you're even vaguely familiar with or interested in, it's always fun to learn something you didn't, in fact, already know. Plus, I've always liked their presentation. It's always weirdly ominous and cool, or maybe that's just my perception. I know at least for their Pokemon videos, they now have the resources to translate never-before-seen in English interviews and books about the series from Japanese to English. That has led to some interesting developments about the history of the franchise. Like in their most recent Pokemon video where they talk about the intent behind Porygon, the common internet talking point about the Pokemon had been wrong the whole time. There's no way, right? I don't want to spell out the factoid here though, go watch the video. Danny O'Dwyer over at NoClip continues to put out interesting documentary lookbacks and behind the scene featurettes on video games. Well, at least I assume. The Horizon documentary from a few years ago was incredible and I haven't watched too many of their videos since, simply because I don't play many games anymore and don't know how entertaining these docus would be if you aren't familiar with the game in question. That being said, the video I did watch from the channel this year was the Roller Coaster Tycoon retrospective that I think was awesome. Chris Davis, who's not a documentary type channel, but just a gaming essayist type channel, did a similar video also this year that was also good. People should keep making videos about Roller Coaster Tycoon. I now know more than I ever did about one of the defining video game franchises of my childhood, and learn so in an entertaining fashion. That being said, if you're into the games NoClip covered this year, I'm sure this channel is a reservoir of interesting tidbits that you should keep an eye on. That was our opening example of the recommendation machine. There's more where that came from. But that's my diatribe about informational videos. Because I wanted to mention them, but didn't want to include them on the list, for whatever reason. These videos didn't count, but political videos did, which are kind of informational. What, was I not going to include ContraPoints on the list, chat? Shut up. And I choose to end this overly long introduction with a final concession and disclaimer. Obviously, I didn't watch every video this year, and there's probably some great ones that I haven't mentioned in this introduction and that aren't mentioned in the list portion of the video. I'm only one man, this list is not all-encompassing. Super Eyepatch Wolf, I hear, went crazy this year in all the best ways. I just didn't get around to it in the time I had remaining before getting this video out. He was on the catch-up list. I failed, chat. I hear Breadsword makes some good videos. I haven't seen them. Relax and get recommended. Our final vamp before we actually get into the list is our secret number 11 pick for the year, and that's Jenny Nicholson's Vampire Diaries video. If you would have asked me earlier in the year, I would have promised you that this video would have been in the top 5 minimum of this list. The first time through, this video was an engaging narrative ride, deep diving into every aspect of this series. Not just the TV show for Vampire Diaries, but also the supplementary material, and even the point-and-click video game. While interweaving cute and funny anecdotes from Jenny's personal experience with the show, it's a wild 2.5-hour ride. Despite the runtime of the video and me having absolutely no knowledge about Vampire Diaries, the video was thoroughly entertaining throughout. A lot of the entertainment factor here, I think, comes from Jenny's very dry sense of humor that resonates a lot with me. Casually finding the racism sticky note an hour after the fact under the black character's sticky note was golden. This video really felt like an all-encompassing charitable read on a show that would have been maligned by most in this space and dismissed as a worthless, cheap show for preteen girls. Most people in this space historically and contemporarily have been and are men, and to men, things for preteen girls are the lowest of low theater. They're childish, they're irrational trash. Unlike the super cool shit we got for preteen boys like Star Wars, which is still cool when you're an adult, right? If a male creator had made this video, it would have been narrated with a smirk and a condescending, dismissive tone, shitting all over the target audience, laughing at the interest of teenage girls. But Jenny avoids all these pitfalls, and honestly, it's pretty refreshing. The problem with this video, however, is that upon a rewatch while I was deciding the order for this list, this video was kind of uninteresting the entire time, and I didn't get as much out of it, and think the other videos on the list held up much better on rewatches. But chat, if you haven't seen this video yet, that fantastic first time through still awaits you, so go check it out. Jenny also put out another video this year about Dear Evan Hansen that I planned on watching before the end of the year but didn't get around to. Sorry chat, I once again apologize. Nonetheless, this video is definitely worth a watch. The narrative of this video is a great ride as you are taken through the numbered list and accompanying investigative board of interwoven sticky notes through a wacky story of betrayed authors, unplayable video games, and vampire debauchery. Jenny Nicholson's Vampire Diaries video is the unofficial number 11 on the list. Now let's get into number 10. The short video essay is a dying art form. In a world of ever-expanding runtimes, I think we should commend our shorter comrades. The Nerdwriter is a victim of his own perpetuity, I think, where he's basically the most popular video essayist who helped revolutionize and popularize this type of content and who we just expect great things from, to the point where his good videos from this year don't necessarily stand out as some of the best of the year, even though they probably are. I still love his overdramatic tone, he pulls it off perfectly, he and Super Eyepatch Wolf, when he gets it right, are the best at it. Also, I love how concisely he weaves narratives through his videos. You can go into his videos knowing nothing about the subject matter and come away with some profound sense of understanding about a painter you knew nothing about, or some random abstract piece of art, even though you still largely know nothing. Basically, it always feels like you're learning something or gaining an appreciation for something interesting when you watch his videos. His Tarkovsky video this year had me in a trance. I watched it on stream and didn't say a word through the whole thing, and I pause videos like a motherfucker. I don't know if I was captivated by the video necessarily or just the film footage, but either way, that was a unique video experience for me this year. His Agnes Varda video, don't know if I'm saying that correctly, I liked a lot. It's also enchanting, and Nerdwriter seemingly replicates the elation of the film's ending in his own video, to great effect. The Spider-Man video is a great scene breakdown of a talking point you've heard a million times. I love the Da Vinci video because I love when he talks about paintings, and I like the idea of dissecting everything about a single frame in great detail, which he does here with the titular piece. The Mozart video is a concise yet extensive look back on a specific, potentially overused piece of music in film and TV that highlights the effect music and film and TV can have on each other and vice versa. Everyone should be watching the Nerdwriter, even if he doesn't necessarily place on the list this year. Nearly everyone our machine has recommended so far has been pretty big, and are channels you should probably already be aware of, so let's recommend a smaller creator who made a short video this year. The Cynic Clinic's The Best Shot in Dragon Ball Z video breaks a lot of new ground in Dragon Ball discussion, which seems like it should be an impossibility in 2021, and he does it in 5 minutes. I'd never seen a Japanese TV ratings chart about Dragon Ball. Who knew the series peaked in viewership in the Red Ribbon Army arc and not, say, in Z? Also, his choice for the titular Best Shot in DBZ is surprising and representative of the greater narrative of the video. The video is more about telling a behind-the-scenes tale about the series rather than arguing about the coolest shot in DBZ or something. His videos feel similar in some ways to the very limited amount of pause and select videos I've seen. Literally, I've just seen his Attack on Titan video. That also came out this year. I'm sorry, I promise I'll remedy this next year and watch some more of his stuff. I know some people literally think he's the best anime YouTuber around, or at least the most well-informed. His videos also seem intent on educating the audience on a design element or storytelling device by way of using a series or a piece as a case study, than the more anime analysis type videos of trying to explain why X thing is the greatest of all time by pointing out this very specific detail that a bunch of other shows probably also do. I don't know, they remind me of each other somehow, in their approach and presentational style of seeming like they actually know what they're talking about and have done their research. Maybe it's because they both say anime instead of anime, meaning they both actually probably speak Japanese and would be able to do better research. Sadly, chat, in terms of short video essays that I actually really liked this year, that's basically it besides the actual placed videos on this list, that we are yet to get to, of course. Short videos are truly becoming a dying art form. How sad. But in this dying art form, I don't think anybody does it better than video game Dunky. Dunky uploaded a shit ton of videos this year, but only the Dunk views really would qualify for this list. And really, they're his best content. And of those videos, the Mario Dunk views from the very beginning of the year were easily his best. Dunky is probably no secret to the vast majority of the people watching this video. He could literally shit out a video and it would get 1 million views, and believe me, he's taken some shits this year. This has largely been the year of quiet shitposts and clever nothings for the man, but he seems to get a twinkle in his eye every time he talks about Nintendo games, especially Mario, and these 2 videos were basically him gushing about just how much he loves the red prick. These videos felt like quintessential Dunky goodness. The narration is perfect, it's where a lot of the comedy in his videos come from. They are abrasive in attitude, basically calling you a big dumb fuck if you don't like Mario as much as you should, and he has the best narrative voice potentially on YouTube. Narrative voice is basically the personality, the energy evident in the writing, and every second of every line in every Dunky video is scientifically infused with that Dunky appeal. You know what I'm talking about. It's addictive. Some days you're procrastinating, you're watching terrible YouTube videos, and then you click on a Dunky video, and then you're 5 Dunky videos in, rewatching your old favorites, then you're 10 Dunky videos in, and an hour's gone by, and you have to make the decision to commit and quit Dunky videos until your script is done. So what I'm saying is Dunky is bad for you, don't watch these videos. Or do and get slapped in the face with how great apparently these Mario games that I haven't played are. Next placement, please. Professional wrestling is the only thing I truly care about in this world, and over the last few years we've seen increasing video essays in this field. Super Eye Patch Wolf has made some bad ones, other pop YouTubers have made some really bad ones, and in the dying days of 2018, Forrest Sauer invented the world's first scientific, good wrestling video essay. There's something actually interesting and new to say. Breaking away from the showbuck or real neat puro, New Japan worship of days past, with his video The Elite Epidemic, which looked at some of the issues he had with the booking in New Japan Pro Wrestling throughout 2018, and the scourge that he viewed as responsible. This video, along with one about Jay White, Forrest would make a few months later, highlighting his boyhood love for the man, would start a chain reaction that has led to the small but burgeoning wrestling subsection of this video essay / analytical space. But making wrestling videos on YouTube is like walking a tightrope in which you always fall, because copyright is notoriously abused in these wrestling circles when it comes to footage or even photos, as nearly all the videos and creators I've mentioned in this segment up until this point are no longer on YouTube. That's why I had to say I think the J video came out a few months after the Elite video because I can't check. But let's look at some of the creators that survived and that still exist in this space, and their output this year, and find out who's being placed on the list. Forrest is still around and has mostly this year made videos about real sport. That isn't Australian Rugby League, so I didn't watch those videos. Or about Ring of Honor, which I also have little to no knowledge about, so I didn't watch those videos. So he's not taken up a spot on this list. Though if you're into either one of those things, I'm sure he's an untapped reservoir of potentially excitable content. I watched a cute wrestling separating the art from the artist video by a channel called Eyebrow Cinema that came out this year, all about Chris Benoit, a video idea I'd unironically had before. This video is actually good though. My idea for the same video was to be cunty and say that if I can get over Chris Benoit killing his family and enjoy his matches, you should be able to get over less egregious things other creators have done. But Mr. Cinema here gives what I think is the correct take, just that whether or not you can separate the art from the artist is entirely personal and interpretive. I thought the video was cute. He's not really a wrestling channel and mostly makes videos about filmmaking, from what I've gathered, though I haven't watched any of his other videos this year. Chris O'Brien is Forrest and Redacted's son. He's redacted so I don't spoil the eventual number 9 slot holder on the list. The inspiration from both is evident, and he even gets dragged into highly illegal Forrest streams where Forrest gets drunk and forces Chris to watch real fighting. It's frankly fucking adorable. Chris has made a bunch of interesting videos this year, from his 2000 series and his Brock Lesnar series, to his top 10 matches under 10 minutes video, all of which I think are worthy of being checked out. 4 Pillars of Hell is a newer channel in this space and clearly more reducted, inspired, with his year retrospective on 2005 being a riff on Reducted's year list formula. I also liked his PWG video, not knowing much about the promotion besides its reputation. It was quite informative. Markid123 is the final channel I want to mention before getting into the actual choice. He has an oddly British TNA wrestling approach to his videos that I'll never not love. His videos feel straight out of the 2013 IWC, edgy, dumb humor and all, and I wouldn't trade it for the world. I've only seen a few of his videos, but they're a trip, and if you're into that sort of thing, check him out. Anyway, the star, the superstar if you will, of our little pro wrestling space we've got going on here, because Forrest forfeited by talking about shit I don't care about, is of course Joseph Monticello, the redacted man himself. Joseph had a big year in 2021. At one point in the year I remember noticing that I, measly old me, had more subscribers than him, and I've had a miserable year and his videos were better than mine. So I thought that was weird, but then Joseph remedied this by releasing his biggest video ever, his John Moxley video, and exploding in subscribers, now having about 11,000 subs. I'm stuck over here at, well, we don't want to talk about that. Not gonna lie, Joseph, kinda fucked up you did that. The Moxley video is actually really not that great. I promise this isn't sour grapes. It's a cool look into the past of Moxley, and I didn't know most of the matches he talked about existed, and those sure were some funny promo lines, but I think most of his other output this year trounces it in quality. His 2020 retrospective year look-back video technically came out this year and was cool. His Orange Cassidy video highlights one of my favorite types of ways to do a video essay, which is to embody the spirit of the thing you're talking about in order to talk about it glowingly. And Chris adopts the Orange Cassidy energy of half trying in his video about the man, that again taught me a lot I didn't know about his early career. His year's best in wrestling series continued this year with 1991. These videos I find can also be very informative in interesting ways, but a little long in the tooth, and I think the structure of having a long list of matches of the year and then wrestlers of the year back to back hurts the pacing of these videos a bit. Still cool though. But the real shit, and the real entry for number 9 on this list, is Joseph's signature Walking the King's Road series. There were 3 Walking the King's Road, pause, respect the name, videos that came out this year, and all continued to be quality. A new Walking the King's Road video is another one of those drop everything we're watching right now moments for me. I love learning the more detailed story behind King's Road 90s All Japan when I've heard so much about it over my years of being a wrestling fan. To now have it all put into context is truly fascinating. I love the probably royalty-free theme song. I love the way it's narrated a tad more dramatically than Joseph's other videos. And I love the way the narratives of the wrestlers are weaved into the video series. The series hit maybe its biggest milestone in coverage this year, covering the 6-3 1994 Kawada and Misawa clash, and Joseph even had some notable hot takes regarding the historic event. There's not really more I can say about these videos. I love them. I feel like this type of video is tailor-made for me, basically being a deep dive into wrestling lore. I tried to avoid using that word. Made so interesting because I know so little about it, but because I know so little about it, I can only really stand back and watch in awe as the stories are told to me. Outside of the presentation that I already outlined I like a lot, there's really not much more I can comment on. I look forward to this community developing in the future. Wrestling discourse online is usually hot garbage, especially on YouTube, but there's some hope here. Now my long wait for the next Walking the King's Road episode begins. I will stand vigil. Let's distract ourselves by continuing the list and stop boring everybody with wrestling talk. The next type of content we're going to look at is the hypertextual, hyperliteral type of analysis or video essay. Creators who choose to analyze a text or piece itself and its themes and characters and story, rather than say use it as a case study or use a work as a way to say something introspective and emotional. Basically, it's just plain old textual analysis. I don't think I'm describing this type of content the best way, but I'm sure what I'm trying to say will become easier to understand with some examples. Captain Logan on the Geekvolution channel has been making this type of content for at least 10 years at this point, while being criminally underrated the whole time. Superhero Rewind predates the Phantom Menace reviews from Red Letter Media, and succeeded in avoiding the trend at the time of being a vaguely defined angry character guy yelling about things, but actually focused on writing and making a point about the themes and characters of the films he talked about. The way Captain Logan writes, I think, is truly unique in this space. His work has a profound sense of flow to it. Every point seamlessly builds to the next, and everything ends up coming full circle. His scripts seem polished in a way foreign to the rougher scripts of his much more successful contemporaries. He comes at the topic he talks about, superhero films, with a level of expertise, being a massive comic book fan his whole life, and seemingly having seen every comic book movie. I would highly recommend his gigantic backlog of Superhero Rewind videos to all. As for his videos this year, I admit I haven't seen the majority of them, but the X-Men Apocalypse review and the series on Batman vs Superman were great ones that I did see. Studio Tucker, if we can drastically shift gears, makes a Berserk comic that I've never seen, but also sometimes makes video essay type analysis about Berserk. More often than not, it's a very textual analysis of some conceptual ideas from the series. This year they only uploaded one of these types of videos with the Deconstructing Apostles video. That was indeed a fun watch. So for the Berserk fans out there, check out that video as well as their backlog as well. There is another channel in this category that I'd recommend, but it's better to talk about them while I talk about the creator slotting in at number 8, and that's Craftsdorf. Craftsdorf, besides reading my comments on the Weeb Club sometimes and not knowing who I am, hurting my feelings in the process, is in my opinion one of the best general content creators on the platform, and someone who's deeply influenced my more modern content, as I've adapted, I think, to his perceived charitability to the work he covers. He's kind of a content machine, putting out videos at a pace and of a certain quality that makes me very jealous. He's uploaded 18 fully scripted videos this year. I didn't watch all of them, but all the ones I did put all the others covering similar topics to shame. If you look at his output, especially from this year, it becomes apparent that he likes to upload analysis of series that are often maligned unfairly by the general anime and manga community. And instead of repeating bad internet criticism talking points, he's charitable to the series being discussed and their authors. This can be seen with the highly positive videos he's made about Sword Art Online this year, the many positive adjacent fairy tale videos he's made, as well as a series of videos he made ripping apart his original series of videos ripping apart Fairy Tail. This series, in fact, inspired me to start doing retractions on some of my older videos in pinned comments. Craftsdorf originally blew up, as many did, unfairly shitting on Fairy Tail, making terrible arguments about the series from an uncharitable, smarky internet analysis high horse, and decided to make a series of videos reconciling his issues with those original videos and other videos like them still being made to this day. He's also made very positive videos about Bleach, which I think a lot of people still shit on. I don't know anything about Bleach. He made a video defending that one manga Twitter hated for a little while for promoting plagiarism, pointing out that it was in fact absolutely not what the series was doing. He did a similar thing along with what seems like a massive amount of research for his Monster Hunter video this year, in order to refute some of the stupider things being said about that game and its supposed subtextual issue with colonialism. Though I also don't know anything about Monster Hunter. There's a trend here of attacking the discourse, and the often stupidity of it. And this is no more evident than in his best videos of the year, his Naruto videos. Defending that series from some of the oldest, most perpetuated, stupid, bad internet criticism talking points that the world has ever known. Both his The Importance of Talk No Jutsu and The Fated Losers of Naruto videos explore in a refreshing manner a charitable read on what Naruto was trying to say thematically in the face of a discourse that calls Naruto Ninja Jesus and tries to tell you that Naruto is about hard work overcoming talent. Craftsdorf content is dense, maybe too dense sometimes. I find myself sometimes having to rewind 10 seconds because I'm still processing what the fuck he just said. He just hits on great point after great point at a breakneck speed. The Importance of Talk No Jutsu is a video thematically analysing Sasuke's journey through all his major fights throughout the series. tying in brilliantly to Naruto's talk no jutsu in the video's final moments. While the Faded Losers of Naruto focuses on the talking points in the discourse surrounding hard work overcoming talent through Rock Lee and fatalism through Neji. I truly think the way Craftsdorf writes his videos is largely unique in this space. He doesn't dumb his scripts down or repeat himself, he'll just make a point and move on, and as I said, you'll find yourself rewinding a few times to process everything he just said. I like to dumb down my videos and repeat myself constantly because otherwise you idiots will never get the point, but Craftsdorf just says some shit and hopes you get it. No one really writes like him, besides Numanji, who's one of Craftsdorf's friends, and co-host on the Weeb Club, who's clearly very inspired by his friend. He only uploaded 2 videos this year, but both are worth your time. One about Vegeta and his arc throughout Dragon Ball, which in a similar fashion to Craftsdorf content, tries to counter the often stupid discourse surrounding Vegeta analysis online, complaining about how he never wins. His other video was an interesting dismantling of the talking points surrounding One Piece's declining sales figures. In the end, Craftsdorf is required viewing in my opinion. He's changed fundamentally how I look at art in certain ways, and probably could for you too. Keep an eye on him in the upcoming year. Tamahiro has been making Pokemon videos longer than somebody who's watching this video has been alive. And in recent years, she's gone back to doing game re-reviews for games she's already reviewed for certain Pokemon games. And while the Ruby and Sapphire videos might be the peak of this style of her content, and would have likely topped a version of this list made a year previously, her reviews for both Fire Red and Leaf Green and Red and Blue are standouts from this year. Yes, this spot didn't start out with a massive preamble because I didn't really watch any other PokeTuber video essays this year to mention before her. Pokemon Challenges is a good PokeTube channel that offers little bits of analysis through his more topical videos, but doesn't really qualify for the list, though I guess I did just spit him out of the recommendation machine for your viewing pleasures. At the very beginning of the year, Tamahiro came out with the Fire Red and Leaf Green review, a video that goes for the throat pretty hard. She does not like these games. And more so, the appeal of her videos, rather than being whether or not I agree or disagree with her opinions on these games, are her always interesting and unique reasons for her opinions, and the fact that she somehow always manages to say something new in Pokemon discourse, something you'd think that would be as impossible as the Dragon Ball example we talked about earlier in the video, but apparently isn't. Her Ruby and Sapphire re-reviews having seemingly unearthed the thematic purpose of those games in ways intrinsic to the native player base, but absolutely foreign to the Western Pokemon audience that I, and likely you, exist in. That video has become required viewing for anyone who tries to say anything about Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire, forever after. In this video as well, she makes points I'd never really thought about, regarding the seeming conflicting design philosophies of the remakes, as it tries to limit itself as a faithful remake, with some design decisions, and then contradicting that perceived commitment to a faithful remake with other design decisions. Like how the Dex is limited and Golbat and Chansey can't evolve until the post-game to try and preserve the feel of the original game, but Charmander now gets Metal Claw to make Brock easier, which was not in the original games. These were things I'd never thought about in terms of contradiction. There's also a lot of behind the scenes information in this video that's good to know, and informs on why exactly Red and Green remakes happened less than 10 years after the original games released, which all builds to her larger point about these games disregarding long-term fans of the series upon release. It's an informative, interesting watch. The more recent Red and Blue video is maybe the video I prefer, and a refreshingly positive take, looking at some of the more popular negative talking points about these games supposedly being terribly balanced and outdated to the point that they are unplayable, and even diving into the Gen 1 metagame a little, with talk of tackling the hardest battles in Pokemon Stadium. I feel like a lot of modern art discourse online is spent shedding the bad talking points of days past, like we talked about with Craftsdorf, and this spirit is carried on in this video. People have just repeated for years that Psychic type is overpowered in Red and Green, and that the games are uncharacteristically buggy, but these videos actually look into these claims to see if they are reflective of reality. Spoiler alert, usually it's more complicated than the average talking point would have you believe. Again, this video feels like it's adding to the discourse in an interesting way that should be impossible in the year of our Lord. I can't believe that I never realized the more animal-like Pokemon are found in the more rural towns and routes on the map, and the wackier Pokemon like the electric magnets and the polluted sludge Pokemon are found in the more urban cities, reflecting humanity's influence on the environment. Tama even tackles the discussion about difficulty in Pokemon games here, and what it truly means to be a difficult game for children. These videos cover a lot, and it's all worthwhile. Tamahiro makes the best Pokemon videos contemporaneously, And if you're a Pokemon fan, she's mandatory viewing. Oh, Canepa also gets stuffed into the PokeTuber category this year because lazily the only video of his that I watched this year was his video about Pokemon Black and White, which admittedly was great. I really should have watched more of his videos this year. He brings an insider expertise and level of research that not many others do. Really nobody. I'd put him in the Cynic Clinic and Pause and Select category in that regard. Could have mentioned him back then. We love the Pokemon Black and White worship and the pixel art worship in this video, on this channel, and this video has both. I promise I'll keep a closer eye on his uploads next year, as you probably should too. Next. If we gave an honorary award for Creator of the Year, that award would go to Roey Deschanel. No preamble for this one either, chat. Her output this year was impressive to say the least. 11 videos, fully scripted, nearly all over 40 minutes, with some cool shit to say. I'm furious with Envy, but we'll talk about Envy later. I don't know if you'd consider Roey Deschanel breadtube. You probably would, but it seems the breadtube label has become a skeptic meme, where nobody wants to be breadtube and nobody self-identifies as breadtube, but we all kind of know what you mean if you describe somebody as breadtube. Roey Deschanel is a leftist, feminist, anti-capitalist YouTube channel that looks at media through this lens, usually commenting on representation and the problematic undertones of the arts or the discourse surrounding the arts, whatever that means. Watch a video and you'll get the idea immediately. The point is, I'm only one of those things, and I still appreciate her videos. They are well-researched, informed, cited even. Looks at the things she talks about in a captivating and densely interesting manner, not really seen in my opinion anywhere else on this platform. Her videos almost always have something to do with femininity, which she tackles from a female perspective, a unique perspective to me as a man, and the likely very male majority pairs of ears listening to my words right now. If we look at her output, it's remarkable how many of these videos I thoroughly enjoyed this year, and have stuck with me or even changed the way I look at things. That's why I can't pick one of her videos this year to place on the list, and I'm just placing all of them. Let's run through them. Her first video of the year, Have We Outgrown Gossip Girl, talks about reboot culture, class, and whether or not a modern audience is susceptible to the escapism the original show indulged in. The Liberal Escapism of Bridgerton is a video analysing ways to tackle the representation issue in media and the problems with historical revisionism. How Killing Eve subverts the spy thriller, looks at female bisexual representation in media and how Killing Eve stands out as subversive in that regard, as well as genre. The Systematic Abuse of Celebrities is mostly about how female celebrities are treated unfairly in the public eye, and discusses how damaging parasocial relationships can be with both traditional and e-celebrities. The Problem of Method Acting looks at the toxically masculine urge to harden the arts, and how similar opportunities to go method are not afforded to minority actors, as well as discussing the potentially damaging impact that exploiting someone's trauma to create good art can be to an individual. Stripping the layers of sensual dancing in film is about sex worker representation in popular media and class struggle. Point Break and the soft masculinity of action movies is about the homoeroticism of Point Break, and how its female director subverts the action genre through her female lens. The video has some particularly good textual analysis with the shot reverse shot breakdowns. Love Island, A Flirtation with Surveillance is about the exploitative culture surrounding reality TV and what it means to be surveilled. Abject Women, The Greatest Horror of All is about society's fear of the female form and how that's reflected in reactions to media depicting abject women. Sex and the City, Love at the End of History is about post-feminism media and whether or not Sex and the City is that, while also looking at a show with problematic flaws that she's partial to as one of her favorites and how we should reflect on previous problematic works. These are all incredible thought-provoking videos. The only video of hers that I wasn't too into this year was her final video of the year, Why No One Wins in the Fast Fashion Debate. As somebody who has literally never, and I'm not exaggerating here, I actually thought long and hard on this, has never bought a piece of clothing in their life, this video, which is a fashion discussion about ethical consumption, wasn't exactly in my wheelhouse, though I enjoyed it nonetheless. All these videos are great, information-filled and dense, and easy to follow along, even if, like me, you knew nothing about the main pieces of media being discussed. I literally hadn't seen any of the things she talked about in any of her videos this year, and I'm here singing the video's praises. They all dip into the actual literature about the things she talks about in ways most analytical YouTubers would never dare, and really just uses the media talked about a lot of the time as jumping off points to talk about the issue of the day. It feels like she always has a strong grasp on the concepts and media being discussed. And even though you've likely heard arguments adjacent to the ones made in these videos before, these feel like the best, fully fleshed out, encompassing, steel-manned versions of these arguments that you've probably ever heard. You always learn something and come away thinking about something from a Roey Deschanel video. Or even just learn the name of a concept that exists in the literature that you'd been independently thinking about for a while, in maybe a not so refined and defined way. The concept she introduces at the end of her Sex and the City video from Eve Kowalski-Seswick about paranoid readings and reformative readings was something I'd been thinking about for a while but now had terms for, which is cool. But lastly, I want to get back to a point I lightly brushed on earlier, and what I think is one of the driving appeals of the Roey Deschanel channel to me, and that is that it is primarily about icky girl stuff, investigated from a female perspective, and how I think that this is intrinsically different and interesting. I talked about this a little even earlier when we were talking about the Jenny Nicholson Vampire Diaries video, where I talked about how if that video had been made by a male contemporary of Jenny's, that it would have been filled with sarcasm and underhanded jokes about how silly the concept of analyzing a silly show for teenage girls is, because guys fundamentally usually, through their maleness, disregard irrational teenage girly things like Vampire Diaries. The fact that Jenny as a woman avoided all this, I thought was valuable, and I think similarly, it's refreshing to have this female perspective on these pieces of media in Roey Deschanel's videos. There's no jokes about how stupid Love Island is, in order to talk about it, and from the female perspective, there is no humiliation factor that has to be repressed in order to talk about these things. And I think this is inherent and therefore valuable in this space. I don't think these shows would get a serious look from a male content creator, and I like that there's now enough of a female presence in this space that these types of videos get made, when I'm not so sure they could have been, and been successful, 4 or 5 years ago, when shitting on Twilight on here was everybody's favorite pastime. After watching that Roey Deschanel Love Island video, a video by a YouTuber named Jordan Teresa popped up in my recommended. She'd also made a video about Love Island. I clicked on the video and looked through her channel and realized that her channel was an analytical video essay type channel made by a woman, talking mostly, it seemed, about feminine interests that was seemingly thriving on probably a mostly female fan base. And it was then that I realized this space was now big enough and all-encompassing enough, at least in gender, for that to exist. When again, I don't think it would have 4 or 5 years ago. We've still obviously got a long way to go, but at the time this was mind-blowing to me that this existed, and that I was none the wiser as somebody who likes to think they keep an eye on this space. I did end up watching the whole video, it was a fun time. Now this next part is me speculating a lot and pulling stuff out of my ass, but to illustrate this point, if we make a scale, I assume someone like Sarah Z has a larger female fanbase than the average male YouTube video essayist, but because of the stuff she talks about generally, in her videos, I'd guess she probably has a decent amount more male viewers than female viewers. Jenny on the scale, because she usually talks more about male-coded nerd culture stuff, probably is on the very end of the scale for a female creator, with likely a big majority male fan base. Roey Deschanel is probably more 50-50 if I were to guess. All her videos are basically about womanhood or femininity, and she's more outwardly political, but I think her videos are still very easily watchable to a male audience. However, I assume looking at the titles, thumbnails, and subject matter of Jordan's videos, though I must reiterate I've only watched the one, her fanbase is probably likely majority female. And that's kind of insane to me, in a cool way. But briefly before we move on, let's rattle through some similar type content creators. Clever and Chic is an analytical video essay channel about fashion and media, again aimed mainly presumably at women. She made 2 Mad Men videos this year, and of course I watched them, and thought they were great. Honestly, the fashion analysis really came secondary and as a supportive argument and a reflection of what's happening with the characters in the series, and I liked the videos more than I expected, again not caring about fashion as a subject matter really at all. Particularly in these videos, I would like to highlight the cool and unique editing. What she does with her videos is she presents them as sort of panels of a slideshow in the style of a fashion magazine, with the text appearing on screen, with a single image sometimes moving. I thought that was super cute, and a great way, clever even, to commit to the concept of your channel. I wish more people would think outside the box in this manner regarding editing, or committing to concept. Though I'm certainly not one to talk about editing. Video called The Day Rue Became Black. What a title. There's no wonder this video did so well. I thought the first half... Girls can make YouTube videos too. Who knew? Also watch this space going into 2022.